Hello everybody and welcome to the Tales of the Cabbage Patch again. Now today's story is about an exceedingly special lamb called Little Alex, the lucky lamb, and an inspiration to us all. On the 28th of September 2015, a lamb's life changed, and so did mine. My farmer friend Alex found a lamb in his flock that was 5 months old and he couldn't walk. His mummy was nowhere to be seen and he didn't know what to do with this lamb. He knew that if the lamb was left alone in the field to fend for himself, he wouldn't survive. Actually, he didn't think his chances of surviving were very good at all. So he wondered what he should do with this lamb. He thought and thought and thought, and then he thought of me. He brought that little lamb to the Cabbage Patch because we had a lovely warm stable he could stay in, and at least if he didn't survive, he would be cosy and snug and safe, not out in a field somewhere on his own and cold and scared. Oh, this lamb's legs were in a very bad way indeed. His back legs wouldn't move at all. They were just floppy. He didn't respond to anything. Not poking, not stroking, not tugging. Those back legs weren't moving. They were rather withered, and when I touched him, I could hardly feel any muscle at all. They must have been like that for some time. As for his front legs, well, he couldn't straighten them. They were bent over, and they must have been like this for some time because they'd stiffened up so much they'd stuck like that. I watched him that first day, and I saw how he managed to get around. He pulled himself along on the knees of his front legs. It was heartbreaking to watch, but he was alert and bright, and he ate all the food I put in front of him, and he seemed to be saying something to me. My days aren't over yet, I think he was saying to me. I spent all day with him, and I played very soft, soothing music to him so that he felt at ease. Then Farmer Alex came along a little bit later and gave him some vitamins. And we wondered what we should call him. Well, straight away I said Little Alex. Farmer Alex said, "What if he doesn't survive?" And I said, "You better hope he does." That evening I snuggled him up in the stable, far away from the other sheep, just in case they tried to bully him. And the next day I was really worried about him when I woke up. So, it was very early and very cold. So I put on my woolly hat and I went straight up to the farm to be with him when the sun came up. I thought he might get a fright when he saw me, so I played that same soft music. So by the time I actually got to him, he heard and he knew it was me coming. I lifted him up and I carried him out onto the wet, dewy grass, and we sat together. Buffy joined us, and it was a very peaceful start to the day. There's Buffy and little Alex. See his little ears, all nice and perky. I'd been thinking overnight of how to get this little boy's legs working, and I called my friend H. We discussed ways of supporting him so I could give him some physiotherapy and massage his legs. By the afternoon, we had successfully developed our physio unit, and I set to work. It was a big bag with 4 holes cut out for his legs. We hung it up and let him settle into it. It took a long time But as I gently massaged his front legs, they seemed to straighten up a little. Then I lowered his physio unit so that his feet could touch the floor. I didn't let him put any weight on them, but it meant that his feet could properly feel the ground underneath. At first, he just dangled there. So I put a plank of wood in front of him with some food on. And he happily munched away while I worked on his legs, all the way from the hips down to his feet, and slowly tried to straighten out these front bits. There he is, munching on his breakfast. I lowered the sling a little bit more, and guess what happened? He started using his front legs. Because he'd been pulling himself around on his knees, his front legs, right here at the top, were quite strong. He started marching and using those front legs. They were still a little bit bent over, but he was using them, marching with those legs. His back legs still just dangled though. Nothing happened. No movement whatsoever. He was such a happy little thing though. I knew I had to keep trying. Finally, in the afternoon, his back left leg twitched. That's all I thought it was. An accidental twitch. Just that. Well, then, boof, he kicked it. Boof, boof, he kicked it again. What a breakthrough! Ah, I knew he wasn't paralysed. I knew there was hope for little Alex. Each day I was there as the sun came up, playing soft music, drinking coffee, and getting to know little Alex. This is how we spent our first few minutes in the morning, lying in the sun together. Then on day 3, he looked tired. Oh gosh, I got worried. Maybe I'd been working him too hard. What was it? Was he giving up on me? H and I took him straight off to the vet. They gave him some more medicine. They had no idea what might be wrong with him, but they suggested I kept on with our little physio unit. It was remarkable. Each day brought another change in little Alex. Only tiny ones. But he was working so hard. I thought I had to work hard with him. My lovely friend Sue brought him a sling so I could support his back legs while he got used to using his front legs. They became strong quite quickly, but he still couldn't balance on all 4 legs. I would press my knees against his hips and slowly release one knee or the other in the hope that he'd be able to stand straight. But no, as soon as I took one of my knees away, he just wobbled and fell over. But then on the 5th day, as I let go, he balanced all on his own. The next day, something miraculous happened. It was the end of another long day working on him, and as the sun went down, I could see little Alex wanted to be on his feet. He was trying to get up and he was looking at me for help. But I decided to let him try all on his own. I was itching to help him, but I could see, after a lot of struggling, he just was almost there, almost there, almost there. And then, with such determination, he managed to pull himself right up into a standing position. This is Alex standing for the very first time. didn't he look pleased with himself? By the 7th of October, only 9 days later, after coming to us on day one, he was determined to go everywhere on those 2 front legs, and I was finding it hard to keep up with him. I would hold his back legs in the sling while he moved around on those 2 front legs. Then I'd position him wherever he wanted to go, and he'd stand still for a while. There he is when he wanted a drink of water. I took him to his little bowl, and he stood there for a little while. As soon as he tried to move again, he'd topple over. So while he could stand up on his back legs, he still just couldn't move them properly. So his physio unit was in daily use still. Then on the 9th of October, I arrived at the farm to find him standing outside his manger. We'd had him less than 2 weeks, and he had improved so much already. He must have dragged himself out and probably tumbled down the step and pulled himself into an upright position. He must have tumbled because I knew he couldn't actually walk. Now I was worried that he might hurt himself if he did a lot of that. So I called H. H was straight onto it. And by the afternoon, Alex had a little ramp. No more falling down the step for him. Can you see? There he is. Yeah? And that's that little ramp so he wouldn't fall down the step. If he wanted to get outside, he could get outside on his own. Oh, our ideas kept on coming. Then one day I had his front legs in a sling, and I placed his back feet on top of my back feet. I played some music and I moved my feet to the beat. I was trying to get his legs to remember how to work. He liked it. He liked the beat of the music, and he was quite happy in his new position. There's my boot, and there's his foot on top of my boot. Unfortunately, his feet kept on slipping off my feet. So I made another phone call to H, and by the afternoon we had developed the Velcro walk. I had attached his legs onto my legs. Do you want to see? I looked really ridiculous. There you go. There's my foot. There's my foot. And there's the Velcro. Attaching it. Genius. Absolute genius. Even though he wasn't putting any weight on his back legs, they were remembering how to work. Each day we'd start the day with the Velcro walk, followed by some dangle therapy. Oh, in the dangle session, I'd put his front legs in a sling and I'd hook him to a big beam in the manger. I'd get him standing and I'd mobilise his back legs. Sometimes I'd just leave him there to see what he did, but only for a minute or two, because he just used to try and move and he'd topple over and he just dangled there, spinning round. Oh gosh, he never got stressed though. He just waited for me to come and put him upright again. Do you want to see him in dangle therapy? There he is. There's his thing attached to the beam. And there he is. His 2 little back legs trying to work. Gosh. His back left leg was getting stronger. And with quite a lot of effort, he was able to straighten his foot and get it in the right position. But the right foot wasn't improving. He needed a splint of some sorts, so we took him back to Leahurst, and both legs were put in plaster to try and get them into the correct position. He didn't like it though. He couldn't move around very easily, and he couldn't stand up on his own. He needed us to help him. So after 2 days of being in plaster, we just decided to remove it. It wasn't doing him any good at all. Another few days went by and I had another brainwave. I got an empty shampoo bottle. I cut it right down and I filled it with cotton wool. And then I put it on his foot. I bandaged it to his foot. And then I wrapped it all round with silver tape to make it waterproof. And the silver boot was created. Ta-da! What a difference that made. It helped so much. It meant that as he brought his foot forward, it was being placed down correctly. It wasn't being dragged along behind him. It was hard work for him, and he wobbled while trying to drag it into position, but it greatly improved his progress. After a few days, it fell off all by its own, but he got the hang of it by then and started naturally to place his foot down properly. Exactly a week later, I arrived for my morning check. It was a very emotional start to the day because after 5 weeks and 1 day, little Alex was walking on his own. Not perfectly. It was quite wobbly, but I felt I could pass it off as his first official walk. After that, he buddied up with Edmund, and wherever one was, the other was always close by. There they are, Edmund and little Alex, and they're still friends now. Now, little Alex isn't little anymore. He is the lucky sheep because he was found and brought to the Cabbage Patch. The day he came to me, his life changed. And the day he came to me, my life changed too. From then on, people started bringing their injured sheep and lambs to me. And we became a proper rescue home. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be a dancer. I have worked in an office. I've been a fitness instructor. And now I'm a shepherdess. I never did get to be that dancer. I'm not sure I'd have even been a very good one. But I am a good shepherdess. Sometimes the path that you're on can change. And where you end up is the very place you were always supposed to be. You just didn't know it at the time. That's the end of today's story. Really hope you've enjoyed it. Bye.